Now in Unity, we have a simple scene with a box where we're going to have our dance party and a bunch of lights that are going to change to the beat of the music. In this lights parent object, I already have a light changer script set up and ready to go. Inside of the start function in this script is an array where we're going to store all of our light components. Then we're going to store the lights associated game objects inside of this light objects list. For now, I'm going to uncomment this color changer function. First thing, make sure that this function is marked as public so that Wwise can detect this function within the script. The only thing we're doing with this function is taking the light components from every object in the light objects list and setting the light's color to a random color. Now we have to set up our music to call this function every beat. So head back to the editor and let's add in a new AK event to our lights object. We'll set it to post the play main music event. Now we just need this to interact with our light changer script using callbacks. So I'm going to check this use callback box, which is going to give us a few more things to work with. A game object, a callback function, and a callback flag. Well, the game object is going to be our lights game object, so drag that over to the first field. And you might remember the function that we just made to change the color of our lights, color changer. Since you have to type this in manually, it may be in your best interest to copy and paste the function name from the script, that way you don't run into any errors from misspellings. Now finally, the callback flag. If you click on this drop-down list, you'll see a number of options to choose from. End of event, marker, duration, and finally, multiple music sync flags. We're on the right track. And since we want our lights to change color every beat, the music sync beat is what we're after. And that's it. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty cool so far, but I think we can make this even cooler. Near the end of the music, the saxophones hit a very impactful high note that marks an intense moment in the piece. What if I wanted that intensity to be reflected in the lights as well? Well, we can do that with cues and callbacks. So let's hop back over to Wwise for a moment. Remember this impact cue from earlier? Well, this is the cue that is going to mark where the big impact happens and what we're going to reference in order to brighten our lights. In order to make a cue, right-click anywhere on the timeline or on one of the tracks and select Add Custom Cue. You can also do this by pressing the Insert key while the music segment editor is selected. You can name your cue by double-clicking on it and typing something in. Now we're set to implement it. We'll head back to our light changer and uncomment the remainder of our functions. This increased intensity function will look fairly similar to what we did in color changer, however this time we're referencing a coroutine. The reason for the change is because I don't want to have the lights suddenly get brighter right when the impact happens. I want them to gradually grow brighter. I use a lerp in order to achieve this, otherwise known as linear interpolation. If you want to learn more about what a lerp is and how it works, check out the Google Docs in the description for some further documentation to help your learning. Back to the editor, we're going to hit this add button below our first callback. We're going to do a lot of the same thing as last time. Drag over the lights game object to the first field, type or copy paste the increased intensity function name to the second field, and finally, let's select our callback flag. It's going to be a music sync flag again, but this time we'll be using a user cue. And that's all we gotta do. Let's see how that changes things. That looks pretty cool. So that's how we handle callbacks in the editor. Now we're going to try one more callback, but this time we're going to handle it in C#. We're going to do a non-musical callback and work with markers. Back in Wwise, I have two SFX, this rhythmic ticking, and this metal hit. Well, let's say I want to have the metal hit strike on the rhythmic ticking's third bass hit. There are a number of ways to go about doing that, but we're going to handle it with a marker. To do that, go into the source editor for the rhythmic ticking sound effect. You may notice that I already have a marker here. Just like with the music's custom cue, you add this by right-clicking on the timeline and clicking Add Marker. This is what Unity is going to reference when it does a marker callback. Back in Unity, I already have a new script set up to get started, play metal hit. To start, we're going to need 3 member variables that we can reference in the editor. All 3 of them are going to be serialized fields, which if you don't know, means that the variable remains private to the script, but can be edited from the editor window. The first one is going to be our listener game object, so we know where our ticking sounds are going to be posted. The next 2 are going to be Wwise event variables, one of them for the rhythmic ticking and another for the metal hits. Really quick, we're going to hook those variables up. Our Wwise listener is on our main camera, so we're going to drag that to our listener field. Then we're going to set up our 2 events to their respective events in Wwise. With that, let's hop back into our script. Before we do anything in the start function, we're going to make the function that is going to be called when we hit our marker. Remember, it has to be public, then void, then I'm going to call it play audio. The script inside this function is incredibly simple. metalhit.post, listener. Great, now we can go over to our start function and play our ticking audio. Ticking audio.post, listener. Exactly the same as last time, but now we need to add in our callback information just like we did in the editor. Though this time, the callback flag goes second instead of the function name. So we're going to put in AK callback type .ak underscore marker. And marker can be replaced with any of the callback flags we've seen before, like music sync beats, end of event, and more. Finally, we put in the function that needs to be referenced. But now we have a couple of red squiggly lines. Well, there's a couple of issues. One, AK callback type does not inherently give us the information that we need, so we need to cast it as a uint. We do that by putting uint in parentheses directly before AK callback type. But now there are still red squiggly lines. Well, something to note when Wwise calls a function through a callback, it's actually sending that function some information. At the moment, we won't be actively using this information, but there are other applications where this information might be useful. In order to fix this, we need to head over to our play audio function and have it accept our callback's information. First, it passes in an object, which we'll call inCookie. Then we get the AK callback type, which in this case is our marker callback. Finally, we get another object which contains some information about the callback we're referencing. There's not much information coming from our current marker, but if we had given our marker a name, then we would be able to reference the marker's name from the inInfo object, which could potentially be useful. Anyways, with that aside, the red squiggly lines should be gone, and our script is now complete. Let's get back to the editor and make sure that our previous AK event is now disabled, so we can hear our ticking and metal hit clearly. Let's test this out. Thank you for watching. Before you go, I'd like to hit you with a few challenges that will help solidify your knowledge on callbacks. Number 1. Let's say something on the dance floor triggers when the music repeats, like a water feature in a fountain in the center room starts to flow. What music callback or callbacks will we be able to use in order to tell our game engine when the music repeated back to the beginning? Number 2. We know how to get information about the callback, like the name of a cue or marker. But let's now get information from the callback's type. Using the same callback script, continue to have the lights changing color every beat while simultaneously having another function occur on every bar using the music sync bar callback. In the inspector, this is fairly simple. You would use the same process that we did for the simultaneous use of music sync beat and music sync user cue, but in the script, you'll need to be a little more clever. Here are 2 hints to help you out if you want them, or you can go off and see if you can figure it out for yourself. You will be making use of the AK Music Sync All callback flag when posting the event. You'll be determining which callback is being sent from Wwise via the in-type variable that we pass into our new function. Hey everyone, you made it to the end of the video, and hopefully learned a little bit about callbacks. If you decided to complete the challenges above, please feel free to link me to a video of your own demonstration down in the comments. Or you can use the WidHidChallenges hashtag or tag me with @CaraComposer on Twitter, so I can help share your work with others. As you're doing these challenges, remember, sound design is a fun and creative field, so have fun and be creative with it. You'll learn more by actively engaging with your learning, and hopefully you'll enjoy it too. For now, this is Jake Gamlin with WidHid Game Audio. See you next time.